What's up, people? Let me know if you can hear me. Still waiting, so say I can hear you loud and clear, and we shall proceed. Hello Amir, hello Ahmad, hello Mod, hello Mark Alexander, hello Greaser. Sorry about all this mess, guys. I just fucked it up with Streamlabs here, and when I pushed the live, when I wanted to go live, I actually ended the fucking stream, and I'm a little bit like still in that mindset, but I need to get out and I don't know. Let's actually do some fun stuff. What I want for today is to actually show you how to modify a bash script to actually make things easier for you when it comes to the automation of bug bounties. What I also want is to maybe look into some attack defense labs stuff. I'm not really sure yet. If you guys want, we could also get into some Python challenges on Add a Bit. And I'm also gonna talk right now, so we're gonna start with a few resources that are helpful or that I'm actually using. So we're gonna start with some resources that I'm currently using to learn cybersecurity in a word, or to actually learn more specifically networking, bug bounties, and that's just about it. So 20 of you are here, so welcome. As always, I don't have to tell you that shoot your questions in the chat so we can engage. I'm probably gonna be here for about an hour or so, maybe an hour and 10 minutes, or even shorter if you guys don't have stuff to ask, because I have a call around 3 something p.m. Hello Paula Popovic, hello Vivek, hello Data Disciple. Yeah, you've mentioned that I fucked it up. Hello Christian, hello Marcel, hello Ares TV. Welcome. So, to kick things off, leave your questions in the chat, and I'm gonna start with the resources that I'm currently using in my learning path. So, in my current learning experience. Which I would say that over the past couple of weeks I've been like studying like crazy, and I'm taking advantage as much as possible about this opportunity to actually stay indoors, and I only go out to exercise or to buy stuff. The rest of the time I try to learn as much as possible, try to practice as much as possible. I'm also working in the meantime, and then I'm relaxing by reading a shitload of books and doing some math stuff on Khan Academy. So I'm gonna answer your questions a little bit later or by the end of the stream, and I'm actually gonna start with going through the resources that I'm currently using, and we're maybe gonna look into some hacktivity on HackerOne to see what's been reported, what kind of bugs have been reported over the last few days. Why math? Because I love math. There's something about math I just freaking love. I don't know what is it, but I wanna like lose myself into solving math problems as a good way to pass time. So the resources. Let me just share my screen with you. Okay. All right. All right. So this is I found this channel Cybersecurity TV maybe last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, and they're still small, and I really recommend looking into the videos because they are really good. This guy started about 6 years ago. Anyway, but they only started posting more frequently like a couple of months ago, and what I'm interested in is how they explain and show XSS. So as you can see here, they have some good videos bypassing XSS filter, 4 parts, and they also have some stuff when it comes to ZAP and Burp Suite. So this is a very good channel that I'm really hopeful that they post more because the quality of the videos are really good. So what I'm actually gonna do on this channel, or what I'm actually gonna learn in this channel, is I'm gonna keep on going through the videos of XSS, and that's just probably about it, because as of right now I'm interested in when it comes to bug bounty hunting and web application penetration testing. I am currently interested in XSS because I hate XSS and IDORs. So that's just about it. That's my focus for now. Well, I would actually have to add recon. I've been doing recon for like 9 months now, so recon is always there. But aside of recon, I'm also learning and practicing even on the bug bounties that I'm working on with XSS and IDORs, trying to find them. As there's also, to actually learn XSS, there's also WebSec Academy. So WebSec Academy. So the guys at Port Swigger, or is it Web Security Academy, I guess. So this is a very useful and free resource that you can use to actually learn and practice all things web application penetration testing. So you have, if you go to view all learning materials, there's a lot of stuff in here, and if you go to the detailed view, look at this. I think right now I'm in the cross-site scripting section somewhere over here. So I solved these labs, not entirely on my own, but some of them I looked into. So if I'm going, let's say for example on this lab, if I don't know where to start, I'm just actually looking at the solution and trying to understand what exactly it is. But it's a good practice to try to do it yourself, and if you really struggle, then you should look into the solution. So it depends on what type of learner you are. Okay, so we have the Cybersecurity TV. What's this? Burp Bounty. Oh yeah, right. So this is a Burp Suite extension that's been recommended in one of the recent, I think it was recommended by Jason Headaches in one recent video somewhere. and I've actually haven't looked into it yet, but for some reason I have it here, so might as well look into what it does. And I'll probably do a video on it at some point in the future if I find it useful. Okay. So we're probably gonna look into attack defense labs. There's a lot of stuff in here. What else did I want to do? Oh yeah, books. Yeah, Paula, math is like black and white. Hello Ahmad, hello Maestro. Okay guys, so books. The only two books or three books that I'm looking into right now, and this is like me trying to be ultra freaking focused. This was the first sip of caffeine for today, so it's like my mind is exploding right now. The OWASP testing guide for web applications, which is circa 2017. So I think, yeah, this version 4 is from 2017, and they're currently working on the 2020 edition, the version 5 or the version 6, I guess. So I'm going through this page by page and trying to look at, so I'm not actually reading every word, but I'm actually trying to understand the context and the suggestions they make. Yeah, so highly recommend going through OWASP as one of the references, as one of the very first references when you're learning bug bounty hunting and web application penetration testing. And then there's the OWASP mobile security testing guide from 2019. And this is 536 freaking pages. So I really recommend you look into this if you want to get into mobile penetration testing and mobile bug bounty hunting. And I want to tell you guys a very pro tip. So not only me, but also Katie at Insider PhD, we are always recommending for starters into bug bounty, and I'm telling this to myself as well because I haven't actually scored a paid bounty so far. The way to get into bug bounties, if you aren't too motivated and if you're a beginner, would be to actually start looking into mobile bug bounty hunting because it's a less crowded space. So if you, and of course another pro tip is to don't go onto platforms such as HackerOne and Bugcrowd, but to try to find your own external programs because everyone is hacking. Everybody is hacking on Bugcrowd and HackerOne, so there's just too many eyes there, and everyone is hacking, or the large proportion of people are hacking on web application, which is why it is very hard if you aren't self-motivated to score good bounties, which is why it would be a better idea if you try to find your external programs, and those external programs should include some sort of mobile bug bounty program. And for that, if you don't know much about mobile security testing, you should be looking into OWASP, which is always a very good starting resource. And you've got a lot of stuff in here, so half of the book is with respect to Android penetration testing, and the other half, or not necessarily half, let's see, or yeah, less than half is for iOS. So from 342 to 536 is for iOS. But if you want to go into the more uncharted territory, you would go for iOS bug bounty hunting, because I believe very few people go in there. So in terms of the entire bug bounty space, very few people go into mobile penetration testing. Out of those who go into mobile penetration testing, a lot of them go into Android, and I include there myself. And very few people go into iOS bug bounty hunting. So this is where there is a high likelihood that you would score. And the reason for why very few people go into it, because it might be like a little bit more challenging to have your setup, to have everything set up so that you can start testing. Even when it comes to Android penetration testing, it takes quite a while until you figure out the entire setup process and you start bypassing SSL pinning to actually get to see the network communication that the application does. So to actually see the requests in burp, it takes quite a little bit of, I would say, it's a challenge. It's not like you just jump onto a program and you start testing their application, their web application. That's like simple. It's like maybe not even 1 or 2 minutes of initial setup. So yeah, if you want to get into bug bounties, go mobile. If you want to go if you want to have even higher chances of actually scoring something, go for iOS. I'm not currently going for iOS because I don't know. I'm not a Apple fanboy. I have never been. But maybe at some point in time I will. So yeah, that's that. Let's see how many of you are still here, and then I'm gonna go into the third book. So we have 22 of you guys. Ahmed, can you suggest iOS bug bounty program? I cannot. You can get Eyal Asulin, where can I get this book? You can get the WASP books from their official website. It's free. Paula, where did you say you learned math from? Well, I learned math in high school. I had a really great teacher in high school, and I think it was in also in not primary, but like grades 5th to 8th. I had a very inspirational math teacher, but right now I'm practicing and I'm solving stuff on Khan Academy. Yeah, Khan Academy, so that's your answer. I'm always looking for platforms where I could solve math stuff interactively, similar to Khan Academy, but I haven't found one so far. Hello Christy, where to learn bug bounties at ease? I just talked about a few resources previously, so might as well roll back the stream once it's over. So we're already 19 minutes in. Next stop is, I don't know how many of you fellas know that my point is, so my focus, my medium to slightly longer term focus in cybersecurity. So my short term focus in cybersecurity is learn a little bit of web application penetration testing with a focus on XSS and IDORs, and once I score a few bounties, I would then focus most of my time on mobile bug bounties, and then once I get a good hold of mobile pen testing or mobile bug bounty hunting, I want to get into network penetration testing. Network penetration testing is much more appealing to me. I don't know, I seem to like it a lot. I actually hate web application penetration testing, which is why I might not be so successful at it, or might have not been so successful at it so far. So one of the ways I try to teach myself the in-depths of networking is using this book, which I find so far really, really insightful, but I'm only 19 pages in. So the book is called Internet Infrastructure, and it goes into very detailed explanations in all sorts of, so it starts from the very first model or the very first layer of the OSI model, and it actually even tells you how cabling and how like current flows and how wiring works and all sorts of stuff, the types of materials, the types of it actually takes a very good historical perspective on the internet, but as you can see, at some point it's going to go into DNS, but first we go to TCP, which is let's see, what page is this? 79. So I'm currently at the introduction phase, but I really like this book and I highly recommend it. You can go to Amazon and buy it there. Might be a bit costly for some of you fellas, but then again, if you don't want to buy it, you can always learn for free. I'm really sure there are many good videos on YouTube, maybe courses on networking. So if you want to go into that, go look into that. All right, so that ends this section with resources. Okay, fellas. Internet Infrastructure by Richard Fox. Richard Fox and Wei Hao. Yeah, that's right. So, next thing, let's look into some activity stuff. Let's see what let's look at one or two bounties that have been reported like recently. Hopefully we get some details. So IDOR and XSS towards the stuff that I'm working on at this moment. Okay, so this, we have an explanation for the IDOR. Let's see. We also have an explanation for the XSS. Now let's look into the IDOR. So this was found on Nextcloud, and it was paid $500, really good. So it was reported March 15, and then it took how long did it take? 5 days. It took 5 days for them to actually pay the bounty, which is really good, really good. So Nextcloud, if you want to hack on HackerOne, look into their program. Okay, so this was found on settings, user security. You can mark a device for wipeout that does not belong to you. Create 2 accounts, one for the hacker and one for the victim. You add devices with different names. So you look into this path, settings, personal auth tokens, wipe data ID. Change the ID of the device of the victim. So this is where the IDOR, this is probably the place that's not sanitized. And this is the actual vulnerability. And they have a video on that. So the attacker only needs to know the data ID or device ID. It's interesting. and they also show the code, I think, if I'm not mistaken, where some of the, or where the vulnerability is. Yeah. So is this on the web application? Yeah, this is on the desktop client. So it's not even on the web application, but on the desktop client. Okay. As I always say, one of the best ways to learn is to actually. So if you're into cybersecurity and you wanna get on a fast track to actually become a very practical person, if you want to become a practitioner, you'd want to do real stuff, and this is real stuff. So bug bounties are the real stuff. I would recommend not spending times on unrealistic CTFs as a means of learning if you're new to this. Yeah, so I hold my position when it comes to that. Don't freaking spend time on CTFs that have nothing to do with what happens in the real world. If you want to learn real stuff, go and read reports of hackers, and then go and hack at a public bug bounty program. And you need a lot of self-motivation to actually keep going, as it might not be easy to score your bounty. And I'm the perfect example for that. I found a lot of bugs. I found quite a lot of bugs in the 9 or 10 months that I've been doing bug bounties so far, but none of them have been paid. And a lot of them have been found on external programs, not on platforms such as HackerOne or BugCrowd. And I'm also part of a private platform, but I might be talking about that in a future video. So this next bug is a stored XSS on upload files, and the asset is from Palo Alto Software. The attacker can trigger XSS by SVG. So create an account. You create 2 accounts, one for the victim, one for the attacker. Log in with the first account. From inbox, create new conversation. And this is actually the content of the payload. So the payload comes in the form of an SVG file, and this is where the XSS is being triggered. Interesting. Okay. Alright, so we're done with the resources. Now, let's see. Keep on asking the questions, fellas, and I'm going to take care of all or as many of the questions as possible by the end of this video. So what I want to show you now is what I do when it comes to automation of recon in bug bounty hunting, and I'm going to show you how I kind of make my work more efficiently using Bash. Abjihit Ranan Singh, pentester in LinkedIn to connect. It's asking about email ID. So I've been getting a lot of connection requests on LinkedIn, and I have to specify that I've closed connection requests on my LinkedIn because I have too many people asking to connect on LinkedIn, and I don't want to have like a lot of noise on LinkedIn. So you can follow my profile on LinkedIn, but at the current moment I don't accept any new connections. IT channel, is Kali Linux necessary for bug bounty hunting or Windows is good? Windows is good. It depends on what you're doing. So, for example, you can get away with Windows if you're doing like if most of your work is manual work with Burp Suite, you can really get away with Windows and do everything you need in Windows with Burp Suite. If you want to like do more stuff that involves tools and scripts that might be better working in a Linux environment, you should be using a Linux environment. Right now I'm using Parrot OS, so this is what I'm using at this moment. I've been experimenting with Parrot OS for the past couple of months, and I'm really satisfied with what they're doing. I like it a lot. It's really stable. I just wanted to see something different from Kali Linux, which is what I've been using in the past. So right now I'm doing all my stuff, or a lot of my stuff, in Parrot OS, and some of it in Windows. Okay, so let me just become root. So let's say you're working on a bug bounty program, like for example, I don't know, Nextcloud. So you have nextcloud.com, and let's say that you're in the recon phase. In the recon phase, you might be doing a lot of subdomain enumeration, brute forcing for directories and stuff like that, and you might be using a lot of tools for that. I do that as well. It's a combination of tools, automation, and manual stuff, manual testing. So for that, one of the tools that I'm using is dirsearch. So dirsearch.py, dirsearch, don't even know how to type. Dirsearch is really good for directory brute forcing, but it's kind of inconvenient or inefficient to always keep typing dirsearch.py minus or simply minus u, I guess, minus u https nextcloud.com. Yeah, I cannot type. Nextcloud.com, then you specify the extensions, let's say js, txt, back, vsdl, tmp, and that's it. And then you have to specify the word list, let's say root my tools, root tools, my word lists, and then I don't know, let's go for raft files.txt, and then you would also be specifying the number of threads, let's say 80 threads. What else would you specify? Maybe you'd specify the -b to request by hostname. I often use the -b. What else? You might be looking for if you're dealing with a web application firewall, you might want to have a delay in your requests. I don't often use that. You can also force extensions. I often use that. And you can also look for certain status codes. Where is the status code stuff? Yeah, you have the exclude status codes. For example, 301, 404. 404 might be actually useful when it comes to finding subdomain takeovers. Okay, so you might want to exclude, I don't know, maybe 301 redirects. I often exclude stuff. And that's just about it. So for every asset, let's say that if you discover 50 subdomains of Nextcloud, and you want to test, for example, 5 of them, you'd have to open, let's say, 5 terminals and type or copy the request for each one. That might not be too efficient. So instead of me always having to specify the parameters, so -u, -e, -w, -t, -b, all this stuff, I've written a very, very simple and short bash file that I only need to specify. So instead of dirsearch.py, I'm doing dirsearch because the bash file is simply called dirsearch, and it's being added to my environmental path so I can execute it from wherever I am in, so from whatever directory I'm in. So it's been added to the path. I can simply say dirsearch and then specify my URL, so https nextcloud.com, and then I would specify the extensions. The word list is already specified, and I could just type enter and it would start running. So I only need to specify the URL that I'm testing and then the extensions. And then there are a couple of parameters that are already added to each of the dirsearch run. So if we look into, let me open another one, and let's go to TMP and cat dirsearch. Doesn't wanna. I thought it was there. So let me just copy it from root tools, my tools, dirsearch, copy it into temp, and then let's cat it. So this is a one-liner bash that actually makes my work much more efficient, and I don't have to specify or type every time the entire command. I only need to specify the dirsearch, and then so this is how it works: dirsearch -u for the URL, and then it takes the first command line argument, which is in this case the URL. So it reads the first command line argument and passes it to this, and then I specify the word list, so I always use this word list, which is kind of sort of efficient. This is a word list that is based on the Raft word list, and so it's based on the Raft word list, but I've also added a lot of stuff, a lot of my own stuff to it, and I've also subtracted a lot of stuff from it. And then I specify the number of threads to be 50, and then the extensions are going to be taken from the second command line argument, in this case jstxt and all the blah blah blah. And then I'm forcing the extensions. I also use a delay of 1.5 seconds, and I also specify the -f, which is for, what's -f for? Follow redirects. Okay, so that's good practice. And then there's also an additional third command line argument, whatever that is. So in this case, let me go through an example for what this third command line argument would be. Let's say that I have the dirsearch https nextcloud.com, and then I specify the extensions, and then I can just hit enter and run it. So if I hit enter, it's gonna start running. I'm not gonna run it live. I'm just gonna let it start, and then I'm gonna stop it right now. Right about, I'm not gonna let it even start. Okay, so it says the word list size, the number of threads, 50 as I specified, and the extensions JS and TXT. If I want to make use of a third command line argument, which is here, is kind of a placeholder for whatever I would like to add. In this case, if I want to override the number of threads, if I want to, let's say for example, use 100 threads instead of the default 50 in my script, I would just add a third command line argument, which is why I'm using this number 3 here. So in this case, as you will see, so it's not thread but threads, is going to override the number of threads. So instead of 50, is going for 100. Or if there are any other parameters from their search that I want to use, I can just add them as a third command line argument. So it's as easy as that. Hopefully, fellas, this is very useful to you. All right, so let's see. I can see there are quite a few questions here, and let me try to answer a few of them, and maybe we'll do some attack defense stuff. Let's look first into the categories of attack defense labs that we have, and maybe some of you fellows would suggest what you want me to go into. So we have network recon. There's a lot of stuff in here. We have real world web apps, which is really good. We can do something from this. I would suggest we should do something from this. Let's see how we are on time. 43 minutes in. There's also traffic analysis, maybe at some point in time. I don't want to do this now. Web apps CVEs, this would be interesting. Metasploit, offensive Python. Infrastructure attacks, privilege escalation, deliberately vulnerable. This is CTF-ish stuff, or not necessarily. Firmware analysis. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here. We have cloud services, log analysis. This is blue team stuff, REST APIs, service exploitation, web technologies, Android penetration testing. This is something that we've done in the previous live stream. But anyways, let me know, guys, what you would like me to go into in this video. But I would suggest for real world web apps or web app CVEs, because if I get stuck, and I'll probably get stuck, I think it would be quite easier to actually look into or Google whatever I need to Google to actually get myself out of the rut. So let me know in the comments what you want me to look into. In the meantime, how can we write bash file which only takes source and destination and exec scp command? Well, Ahmad, I think I've kind of got into that in my previous example, so it shouldn't be too difficult for you to actually adapt that to your preferences. Vivek, I don't know any programming, but can I start with Bash? Vivek, yes, you can start with Bash. Bash is really, really useful. It's super freaking useful. I've only started looking into it a couple of months ago, but I'm kind of amazed on how um, useful it is compared to Python in a number of situations. So I find it more efficient to write a bash script like this one that I've just shown you, a one-liner bash script, compared to doing the same thing in Python. Don't get me wrong, Python is really good. I love Python. It's probably my favorite programming language when it comes to cybersecurity. But Bash is really powerful. I would not start with Bash if you don't know anything about programming. Rather, I would start with Python because it is straightforward and its syntax is really clear, it's really clean, and you've got a lot of free resources to start with. And if you want some paid resources, you can always look into my two Python courses, my Python Basics and my Python for Penetration Testing, which are on Udemy. All right. What else? At what time you should stop searching for a particular bug? Whew, that's a loaded question. Well, let me say that when you're going into a certain program, for example, you should know what you're looking for. And I know this might sound like a little bit crazy for a few researchers, but some of them like to adopt the idea that, okay, I'm going to go into this bug bounty program and I'm actually gonna look for everything. In my case and in my example, that's not an efficient way to do. I don't like to do things like that because there's a lot of stuff that you can look for. You can look for XSS, SQLi, SSRF, IDORs, broken access controls, plus like dozen other vulnerabilities or weaknesses in applications. That's a very unfocused and unspecific approach. So if something, in my case, and by the conventional logic, when something is not focused, it is not powerful. If you're looking for everything and anything under the sun, chances are you might not be very efficient into finding something, which following the same logic path, if you focus on a specific thing, chances are that you might be more successful in finding what you're looking for. So if you go to a program, so Nextcloud, and you're looking for XSS, you would be, for example, doing a subdomain enumeration and then pick a couple of subdomains and see if there's some web application or web service running on some of those subdomains, and then actually do some manual testing on the parameters and on the fields that are available for that specific web application or web service. In this case, you'd probably be testing, I don't know, maybe to find the subdomains, it should take you somewhere between half an hour to maybe 1 or 2 hours, depending on how focused you want to be. Then you would start looking into one of them, for example. You'd be focusing on only one subdomain, one web application or web service for that XSS. For how long? Well, this is where it depends on how long it takes for you to actually lose excitement. So I wouldn't be testing if I see that I don't get any progress, in a couple of hours and moving on to something else. So if you're looking to a specific bug, I would be moving on after a couple of hours of testing from that specific bug or from that program or from that subdomain. When I, for example, do recon, I can lose myself in recon for days because I always try to keep filtering the results, always keep on refining the search, doing searches on the results that I've got from past searches. So it can take maybe even 2 or 3 days for me to do only the recon stuff. So this actually depends. If you lose, it's not always a good idea that if you lose interest and excitement to move on, because without a little bit of a struggle, there is a big likelihood that you won't encounter much because low-hanging fruits are already taken. So to be actually fruitful, to actually be fruitful and successful, you should kind of feel the stress. You need to feel the stress. You need to have thick skin to actually do the things. And this is the excitement. This is what I really like. I like bug hunting, and I'm still doing bug hunting not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Because it's unfruitful. It hasn't been too fruitful for me so far, and that actually keeps me motivated. If you are not self-motivated and you'll be moving from target to target and from focus to focus, chances are that it is least likely that you'll be successful. So you have to love the process, the journey, and one of the driving fuels would be the curiosity. If you're in it for the money, this is not for you. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, so not too many questions, which is good. What is your comment, Nikhil? Let's do what's the best way to start bug bounty? I have at least 5 or 6 videos on my channel that talk about that, so I'm not gonna answer that question. Alex, go to my channel, go to the video section and look for those videos. Let's actually do a challenge on attack defense because I have to kind of go. I have a phone call in about 15 minutes, so hopefully we can solve something from here. One of you suggested REST APIs. Let's see what's in JWT basics. Exposed claim. Leaked JWT secret. There are a few things in here. Let's just start with the first one, with the exposed claim, since many of you are new to this kind of stuff. I haven't been dealing a lot with the Java web tokens. So, what's this challenge all about? It says it's easy. Let's start a lab. The REST API is running on the target machine and uses JWT-based authentication. Does not offer confidentiality, therefore anyone in possession of the token can decode its payload and header part, and we're going to look into that. Objective, so what we need to do is to retrieve the flag from the payload part of the JWT token. This shouldn't be too difficult. We have a username and the password and an email. And the API endpoint is this one. Okay, so I think we're gonna do it via some sort of a command line. Let's launch the lab. Okay, so we have a web instance of Kali. Let's see. Endpoint auth local. It's a post request, and you need to send the identifier and the password. Your Kali instance has an interface. So Kali is on number 2, and our REST API runs on port 1337 or lead on number 3. So let's see where our attacker machine is. So Kali Linux is here, and our attacker machine is at 192.178.1043. The REST API is at 1337. So we need to do a curl -x post. We need to post let me actually do a refresher on post request curl. The data that we need to send. Let's see. Without data. Okay, so we need to specify the data. So minus data. Okay, what are the parameters? Identifier and password. I assume the identifier is the email, so Elliot, or it might be just Elliot. So let's see. Identifier equals. Can I not just paste? No, I cannot paste. I have to specify. Elliot@evilcorp.com. Elliot@evilcorp.com, and password equals Elliot Alderson. Elliot Alderson. Do you guys see this, or you want me to actually make it larger? Let me know in the comments. Not that. Okay, so tell me guys, can you see this well enough, or you want me to actually make it a little bit bigger? How do you make it bigger? Shift Control ++. Yeah, like that. Should be better. Okay. I'm gonna answer your questions as I finish this this little challenge. So Elliot Alderson. So we have the identifier, the email, and then the password Elliot Alderson. Okay, what else? Do we need to specify anything else? And we're gonna send this post request to our 192.168.1337 auth local. Let's see if it works. So we need to send it to HTTP. So I said that our our victim is at 192.178.1043, port 1337, and then auth local. Okay. And in this case, I believe if we run this curl, we should get the JWT token, which will then later decode. So let's see. Please provide your password. So yeah, I misspelled it. You guys didn't tell me. Where is the password? Le password. Let's see now. So we've got the JWT token all the way up till here. And then we're gonna copy this. Let me see if it actually copies outside of this web instance. So let me see if I can paste it there. So yeah, it seems to be copying. And then we'll do a JWT token decode. Web tokens. Just paste it over here. And then of course we have the payload data. So as you can see, it's what they've told us. An important thing to be noted is that JWT does not offer confidentiality. Therefore, anyone application that uses JWT tokens, it is often very easy to look into the data that's been provided with that token. So you should be decoding that token over here. Maybe you could modify the token and send the token and see how a request with a modified token actually responds. A request to the server with a modified token actually responds. Sometimes it would respond with not allowed, but you might be surprised that sometimes it actually responds to your modified token. But what I wanted to point out is that when you see, you can often identify a JWT token in the authorization header by the EYWJ starting at the EWJ combination of characters at the start of the string in the authorization header. So look into that and then see if you can, not see if you can, but actually decode a token and see what sort of information is transmitted using that token. So in this case we have this flag, which we can simply verify, paste it over here, and then there you go. So this one is done. Hopefully this was helpful and you've learned something new today. Let's just close that one as well. And then Ahmad, where can we get like these V lists? So you're talking about the word list that I've been using. A good starting point. So I'm gonna tell you from the very start that no actual bug bounty hunter or penetration tester is going to share with you their word list, because it's actually sharing with you their slice of bread, as we say in Romania. They might point you to places where you can find word lists, but nobody's gonna share with you or give you their private word list that they've been working on for months. So you should know that from the very start. However, if you want to get a word list, you can go to let me see, I think it was Daniel Meisler with payload all the things. So Daniel Meisler word lists, it's sec lists, that's the word. So sec list. So Daniel Meisler, sorry for butchering your name, Dan, you're a great guy. So this is where you have a lot of word lists. It's a good place to start. Depending on your purpose, take a word list from here and modify it accordingly so that you have your own original sort of like original approach to a certain target. In this case, if you approach your target with your own word list, chances are that you might be more helpful in having results that are different from other researchers, and this actually increases your chances to find a bug if your word list is really good. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. Any free cloud services without credit card verification? What's wrong with credit card verification? They don't take any money from your credit card when you are looking for a free cloud service that actually gives you a trial period of 30 days, but you need to input your card details. Now, to answer your questions, from the top of my head, I know of no, so I do not know of any free cloud service without credit card verification. There might be, but I don't know of any. What I've recommended in a previous video, I think, was DigitalOcean and Paperspace. So I've tried both of them, and both of them seem really good. I've got free, I think I've got free credit for like 3 months with DigitalOcean via a code by Nahamsec or something like that. I'm not really sure, but I did have to provide my card details as far as I can remember. But I also know that there's AWS that provides cloud services, then there's also Google, so all these big players. But to give you more details other than the things that I tried, I cannot. So I only looked into Paperspace and DigitalOcean. Do you always use DuckDuckGo instead of Google? No, I'm using DuckDuckGo right now. I often use DuckDuckGo because I don't want to actually reveal some of my search history. So instead of just opening up a new incognito window in my browser, I'm just using DuckDuckGo. And I also want to like promote DuckDuckGo as a search engine, even though it might not be as useful as Google. It's a search engine that supposedly shares or stores few or less private data. Hopefully that answers your question, ALX. Kira, what do you think, how much time one should spend time on recon and how much time you actually spend on recon? So Kira, I've actually answered this question like maybe 20 minutes ago. So if you weren't here, make sure that you rewind this live stream after I finish this video in a couple of minutes and look into my response. But to be very specific and to answer your question, how much time I actually spend on recon, it depends on the target. If the target is really big, like Tesla.com, for example, or Google.com, I mean, I could like spend days in recon and feel that I'm not actually doing any progress. But if the target is really like small, like a very small website, I could do like the majority of my recon methodology, because I've developed my own recon methodology. It's like 20 pages of a document long. A lot of it is automated. I could run it in half an hour if I have a small target. But it is very important to know when to move on, because if you feel that you don't make progress and you have the intuition that it might be a waste of time to keep doing it, then move on to something else. But like I said, and I'm contradicting myself, it often is that you have to struggle to find something good. So maybe try alternating with these two strategies. For targets that you like, spend more time on recon and struggle, and for targets that you don't like, move on quicker. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, fellas, I'm gonna call this a day because I have to go into a phone call in 5 minutes for now. And I guess I will be seeing you in future live streams.